perhaps I'm overthinking it, but I've long contended that this is not a leisure activity, and that there's as I see it, a particular role I play in the society as an artist, and that comes with what I view as a heavy responsibility. My tools may not be like that of a surgeon with a scalpel, and yet I can create work that can cut as deeply and as emotionally, and perhaps create damage as well. It's just an effort of creativity that we all need to engage, whatever our discipline, whether we're engaged in the spoken word or the visual arts or science or whatever, that there's creativity possible in the everyday things. And it's just a matter of being able to listen, to see, to hone in on, I guess, what some people would call intuition. Perhaps actually it goes back to my formation in terms of where I went to college. I went to Cooper Union in New York City, a very, very small school, and in the architecture school specifically. And I don't think people would typically think that one would be studying in architecture school philosophy or poetry, but that actually is part of the curriculum there. And being confronted with certain works that have a great deal of, breath or air to them. Ultimately, my perception will always be my unique perception. As a immigrant to the United States since I was a child, coming from a long Caribbean, specifically Haitian legacy or heritage, being a person of color in the context of the United States as another element, being a middle-aged person at this point of another, being part of a somewhat contested LGBT community is another element. All those things intersect to create a particular point of view on these generalities, and understanding how those generalities can somehow function. I suppose maybe it was a bit more trendy in the 80s when I went to school, but to a certain degree I can say that I know how semiology works, and so the images or symbols can become my alphabet in the same way that words can be that for a poet, you see. So part of the key to this idea of intersectionality is that, well, you're fully that simultaneously being fully that and fully this and fully that. Because I've been much more interested in the non-linear story. So it's a bit of a struggle, because what I like about creating some of the artworks that I've done, like my burqa project, for example, where I have 4 burqas that I sewed up using the American flag, the German flag, the British flag, and the French flag. Where and how does one enter into that? I never consciously say, oh, this one has to go first, this one has to go second, that one has to go third. It all moves around depending on where it's being exhibited. So again, it's not linear. You don't read it that way. Yeah. But there are literally so many doors that one could open in order to enter into that work. And granted, when something has so many doors, there are a number of people, I don't know what the percentage is, maybe 20%, as high as that, close down because they're not being spoon-fed. But I actually think that non-linear, I'm interested in, is that things can then just continue to unfold because people can project into what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and I find that to be liberating, and quite frankly, I think it helps the work that I do as well, because it has a greater, larger relevance to people. I want to offer in my artwork, or through my artwork, the most authentic of experiences possible. It would be disingenuous for me to fake that. I cannot fake looking through their eyes and make those little choices. Yes, I can fake it, but then it becomes theater. The genesis for the work was that I was walking many years ago, having flown to Germany to see the wrapping of the Reichstag by the artist Christo and Jean-Claude. And I was at one point in the center of the city attacked by two people. Actually, one person, the other one was trying to hold him back. And it was completely a racial incident. So, in Germany, white German. So for me, I feel that generally speaking, creative people, whether you're a writer or visual artist or whatever, have the ability to also exorcise certain emotions and things out if we concentrate in a particular way. And so I wanted to create a project that was, for me, a certain kind of healing and empowering action of some sort. So rather than either be super angry about the situation, or crumble under kind of victimization, I decided to just fly back to the United States and start to create a project in which I would make an effort to look like, superficially on some level, the approved German body in space that would not elicit such violence. The Germans have several cliches that exist of them, and I thought, why don't I just grab one of those and jump into that, and buy myself a travel train ticket that was open-ended, that I could just go all throughout the country again, and this time present myself in public space in this kind of stereotype cliche costume. I somehow created a kind of pattern, found leather to create these pants that was as close to kind of white Caucasian skin tone as I could. Went to some hair shop and bought fake, not real, but blonde hair, sewed it in to the seams and created little tresses. Took a trip to buy a kind of Tyrolean jacket and felt hat, removed the feathers, put in more blonde hair. I mean, it was creating an outfit that was different but the same. Different but the same. So that there is this aura of the sameness, and then there are these kind of like, as you enter in closer, one begins to perceive all these odd little differences that have different reasons for being there, you know, including the little cowbells around my neck. And of course, there was going to constantly be an element of surprise, even for me, in making the work, because again, as I said, I cannot fake what people see. But I can take on the hard work of engaging all those people and seeing what comes from it, and allow them the possibility of being the archivers, the documenters of that interaction. In the end, I'm able to redeploy those experiences and those images out again into public space.
Yeah.
Yeah.